Hi, and welcome into 12 News. We're following two breaking news stories involving Boeing this evening. The first, the U.S. Justice Department plans to propose that Boeing plead guilty to fraud. That's in connection to two deadly plane crashes involving its 737 MAX jetliners in 2018 and 2019. Sources close to the situation say Boeing will have until the end of the coming week to accept or reject that offer. Prosecutors told the families that if Boeing rejects the plea offer, the Justice Department would seek a trial in the matter. Boeing has declined to comment. And the second breaking news story, Boeing has agreed to buy Spirit Aero systems for $4.3 billion. That's according to an article released by Reuters, which cites two sources familiar with the situation. The deal prices each share at $37.25. The deal, which is subject to regulatory approvals, would result in the breakup of Spirit, with some of the Kansas-based supplier's assets going to French plane maker Airbus. Airbus, Spirit, and Boeing have all declined to comment at the time of this newscast.